Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is the Mother's Board Inc. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Dr. Mack and we have Pastor Claudine Collins today, and we have some great topics today. We're going to ask you to do our opening prayer. Sister Pastor Claudine, please.
Father, we thank you for this day that was not promised to us that you have left us in the land of the living. As we come to share our thoughts and ideas and to pray for a nation, and God, pray for the people of the nation. We ask that you would meet us today, God, and let there be great communications, and God, that we have great understanding, and we will leave somebody with a word that will encourage their heart, encourage their soul to keep on keeping on, and to believe, God, that God is going to turn it around for our good. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen and amen. Thank you so much. And we're just so happy to be here today. It's such a blessing and a privilege. And the way the world is going today, or any day that we can say, hi, hello, thank you for being with me, is a blessing in itself. So we're just thankful that you've joined us today. And we have some great topics for discussion today. And I am going to get them. I had let me make sure that I can get them. And I know one of them is that I've been working on is about, but I want to get it. So let me just go ahead and get it. And I won't be guessing about it. So let me go ahead and get them. I have to go to my email and get these topics for discussion today. But they are really good, and I am so thankful, thankful, thankful. Here we go. Let me click on this and go over to them. Okay, now I have to deal with this computer. Let me move my stuff over. Okay, do you believe? Let me make sure I can get this. So I can move it around. Okay, here we go. Number one, do you believe the dog whistle that is being played at by the presidential candidate in what is that? In Sundown Cities is audible to members of the GOP. Dr. Mack, that's a great question. Would you like to start out with that?
All right.
A
Good
great,
afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, the first thing there is we're talking about the presumptive nominee for the GOP for 2024, and we're talking about the dog whistle. For those of you who don't do much into the dog whistling, it's basically
I can barely hear you, but y'all go
it's
ahead. I'm
based.
listening.
Can you
Uh
hear me
oh,
any better?
I can barely hear you.
Is that better, Pastor Claudine?
Little bit. Okay. Let's
Well,
see if we can.
these are words and phrases that his base would recognize that the just the average person would not. It's just like that. When you're around a dog can hear sounds that you cannot. And when you were younger, you had a way of, we used to call it shadowing. We had a whole terminology with pig Latin. Do you remember that? We could have the whole conversation with no one really understanding what we were talking about.
exactly.
And then we have the children of today who do a lot of texting, and they do, I like to call it shadowing. They are having that conversation. You read it on one level, and it means something else on another level. But
Yes,
with reference to this political situation that we're in now, we have the sundown cities. And for those of you who are not familiar with sundown cities, these are ones that were Jim Crow era uh, locations where it was not safe for blacks to be out on the streets after dark. It was a way a way of being subversive, really, because after dark is when things happen no one sees, or a group of people will see and will know, but they are not going to tell because they're all part of that group.
right.
Recently, we've had visits to La Crosse, Wisconsin, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, Muskogee, Wisconsin, and how Michigan, just to name a few,
Mhm.
these are basically um, cities that had bad things happen to them, and they enforced their, not legally enforced them, but they had the sundown law. Texas has cities, a city, several cities. It was known that you didn't do that. There
Mhm.
were cities in towns in Louisiana, like Dry Prong, Louisiana. If you were going through it, even in my high school years, our buses would try to get through there
Mhm.
before dark, um, and nothing ever happened there. But it was just the reputation. You know, the blackest soil and the whitest people, that kind
Mhm.
of thing. Or don't let the sun catch you here. So these are the sundown cities. So a message is actually being given, without words, but the persons there understand what that means. They understand that it is a racial um, epithet. They understand what it's supposed to do. They understand that it's a quiet bullhorn. You were saying a whole lot by saying nothing, but it's there. And
Right.
they understand that in how Michigan, that was where the one of the worst persons known as, the KKK Klansman, the Grand Dragon, lived, and he organized the auto workers to go after the blacks, in that city. They say always for jobs, but that's not necessarily the truth.
Mhm.
But what we have here is this particular candidate going through. Now, even before I read the article, guess what I said to myself? Why is he going to these places? 'Cause they are not well known. You know, maybe La Crosse, Wisconsin, of all those I named. And he's going to small towns in Georgia. But right now, he's trying to stay in those states where he needs to vote. And this
Mhm.
is the way of getting that.
Yeah.
This is the way of getting that. So we have the dog whistle being blown, and we
Mhm.
have the sundown cities being visited.
Yeah. Yep. I understand exactly what you're saying. Now about that, and yeah, he's going to places. Well, and I want to say this, and I want to be delicate with this because they pick certain places where they can have their idea, I'll say it like this, agreed with because of the lack of information, factual
Okay? Factual,
information,
factual.
uh-huh, information.
True.
And because people can be easily led in a certain direction when they don't understand. And then they also have a certain frame of mind that is equal to that person's frame of mind, then they target those areas. So that's what I'm thinking about that. So do you believe the dog whistle that is being played by the presidential candidate in sundown cities is audible to members of the GOP, and they all agree. The thing about this is, and I've said this before, and many people have said it before me, because that's where I got this phrase: people band together against the common enemy. And so you're saying, do the members of Sundown, is it audible to members of the GOP? I believe it is. That's my take on that. Pastor Claudine,
I I, uh, I couldn't really hear y'all, but what it was
Pastor
good. I know
Claudine,
that, huh?
Pastor, I was going to say, if you need to turn your phone up a little bit, but I was thinking that went away because I thought it was on my end. But can you hear me well enough?
I can hear
If
y'all
you
a
need,
little bit.
okay,
It's
turn
not
it. Okay, if you turn it up some more so you can hear.
okay.
And so, anybody out there, if you hear an echo, please forgive us for the echo. Okay.
Trying to get
Okay,
it back
Pastor
down.
Claudine.
Okay, that was the first question y'all were talking about,
Yes.
and I am. Oh,
That's okay.
where'd it
Take
go?
your time.
Hold on. Yeah, bear
Okay.
with me here.
Okay. Take your time.
Hoo-wee. And
You
it
can.
states, do we believe? I really didn't understand. A dog whisperer, is that whistle, is that person that tails off on people? Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, Dr. McTell, what we're saying, like when a person has a whistle and the dog is the only one that can hear it. A dog whistle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dr. Mack, explain that a little bit more, please.
You're
Yeah,
making a
please.
you're making a statement, and on its surface it sounds like a normal statement. However, those persons who are within your fan base, they know exactly what you're saying,
Mhm.
because you may not be meaning what others think so, but they understand. The media
So,
refers to it as throwing red meat to his base. They refer to that all the time. He's doing
so
this to please his base.
okay. So, in other words, it's almost like slavery time when they sung a song to meet him somewhere, but the
Yes,
song didn't say meet him
yes,
somewhere.
That's
yes,
it.
yes,
It.
Mm-hmm.
yes. That's it.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like
And
that.
so that's what Donald Trump meant when he said they're going to take you black people's jobs. He was telling them that he's going to put black people out of work, or he's going to find a way to get rid of some black people. But when Michelle Obama heard it, she interpreted it and she sent him a word back. She sent him a
Yeah,
word back that he just happened to marry and were educated and had degrees and wind up being the president, first lady of the White House. So he might want to worry about the black people's jobs for him.
Right, exactly.
And I
right.
and I thought,
Yeah,
wow, she interpreted that without being ugly, without being rude,
right.
and sent. And
I'm
so
telling you.
it is seemed like the norm that we're talking in code, and the code is being
Yes,
broken, and so people are knowing what we're saying even without saying it. It's like people
Exactly.
try to belittle you, but they don't say the actual words of belittle. I'll give you for an example.
right.
For an example, I was preaching when it was over the first lady pastor was very, very well dressed, and it wasn't. They didn't have that many members, and most of them were young people. So after church, the pastor came to me and he said to me, "You just a good old country girl." And I
Hmm.
say, "Excuse me," because I didn't know him first time. He said, "Yeah, you just a good old country girl." I say,
Hmm.
"You think so?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I'm like Paul. I become all things to all people."
I understand.
And he said to me, "I think I have just been called country and told off."
Yep.
Say you are just right, huh?
That's right.
And it offends me. It offends me greatly though when people do that as if to play on your intelligence. If you don't, as if you don't understand uh, the way they move around words and say what they really want to say, but
Exactly.
try to say it in a nice way, but still and yet they're demeaning your character and your style and the way you present yourself.
Exactly. And that annoys me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That
And you know,
annoys me.
that's what political parties right
Hmm.
now, and almost like you playing tag.
Yes.
You know, I'm gonna say some negative to you, and uh, you're gonna say some negative to me, but we're gonna say we think above the knowledge of the people. But
Hmm.
I tell people like back in the day, we had parents educated. They taught us the understanding that they had from the word. But in this
Exactly.
day, we have educated. We have people with degrees, PhDs, people that have theology degrees. You cannot go around them with a word that you don't actually interpret with the right meaning. They
Exactly.
understand, and so we in politics, if we don't come to the place of trueness, this is just going to be an utter mess. I mean, there are already 1 million. 1 million. They said 1 million. black votes have been destroyed. So we're encouraging people, go check, call in and check and see if your voter's card is up to date and it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
we've got to come to a point where what the old people used to say, we live in a doggy doggy world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And people are doing things that seem utterly impossible to believe, but they are
Exactly.
doing it. And what do we need to do with that? We need to change our status quo, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
come from the uh, from the knowledge point of view of it, and not just be sarcastic or kind of stuff. We need to be real, a spade, ace, a ace. But we need to have what we know better and where they can find it.
Exactly. That is super. Oh boy, you ladies have
And not play the
handled
game
that.
because it's a game being played.
It's a game. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it is a game. It is a game, and they don't
Hmm.
consider anybody else. It's just something they're doing between themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I
And
want to ask one
and the
question.
first
Sundown cities. I was reading this question this morning. And my daughter had her headset on, but she took it off. She said, "You know what a sundown city is?" She says that's a very prejudiced city, and what that means, if you're a black person,
right,
you're not supposed to be in that city at night.
right, right,
Exactly.
right.
Well,
And
they
Is
say
that
don't
true?
let
Is
the
that
sun set on you.
and don't
well?
let it
Huh?
set on
Say
you.
because they
Mm-hmm.
That's
don't want black people, they don't appreciate black people, and you might not make it home.
Mm-hmm.
won't make it home, or
And
you
And
like,
won't
so,
make it home in the
right,
same situation that you were in.
hmm
I
like
wanted
Dr.
to
Max. Oh,
comment on Pastor Claudine. That was that was the greatest dog whistle done during the DNC when the former first lady said that you may be going after the black jobs. So, I mean, there wasn't a black person in this United States who did not understand her response. There wasn't one. I mean, and you have to admit that you were sort of applauding quietly or smiling in your heart because you knew, but it went above the heads of so many others.
mm-hmm. Yep,
That's it.
so true. And what do you say about some of those signs they used to have out, or where they used to use that word, in don't let
N
the
word,
sun set
don't let the
on
sun.
you. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And, don't let,
down
and
on you.
then, like you were mentioning, the blackest land and the whitest people.
Whitest people.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Those things. And so that's
Yeah.
why I said they know and then they target those places.
Right.
They
That's
target
where
those.
he's going. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing came up because someone on the internet was like, okay, these cities, what do they have in common? What
Mm-hmm.
is the pattern? And this is the pattern.
That's
He's
it.
sending the message out. He doesn't have to tell you to be another January 6th situation. But when he's speaking to you in those cities, he's
Mm-hmm.
referencing what used to be. But like so many are saying, ain't going back that way no more.
Mm-mm.
No more. But that's the
No.
dog whistle.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, number two. There was another violent shooting in a Georgia high school this week. What definitive action should be taken? There was another shooting in a Georgia high school this week. What definitive action should be taken? Oh, Pastor Claudine, go on. Come on back, Pastor Claudine. Okay, they've tried so much. They've tried and tried. They're trying to get what is it, guns outlawed. They're I don't. It's just I know this might be broad, but it's this day and time, and these things are happening. But what can we do? What has to be done is that people need to pay more attention as much as possible in their homes of what's going on in their homes. People should pay more attention and talk to their children more and try to communicate and keep communication open with those children because sometimes these children are going through so much and they don't talk about it, and then it builds up and builds up because sometimes the parents are going their way, they're busy doing this and that, busy working, trying to make and keep the home afloat, and it's just so much going on. To sometimes I don't know how old the shooter was. How old was the shooter?
14.
14 years old, and things are just happening. And sometimes these children are being their needs, and I'm not saying their basic needs are not being met, but I'm saying like psychological and emotional needs sometimes are I won't even say overlooked because sometimes the parents don't know what signs to look for. And then some of them are so busy, like I said, taking care of the home and working and doing things, many of them. And then some just let the children go rampant. And I'm not saying that was this case because I don't know. But there needs to be more understanding and communication in the homes.
I agree. And we start off by talking about school safety. But when we're talking about school safety, we have to remember that the school is a microcosm of our community.
Hmm.
So if we're going to say that we're going to use guns to solve the problems that upset us, if there's a teacher, and both of these teachers who were shot were math teachers, both of them were math teachers. And here is this a situation this morning. The uh, the shooter's father is being tried for not take. He is going to be tried for making the gun accessible, and there are reports that it was a gift from the father to the son, and then the son is going to be tried as an adult. Now, I'm not saying that's the solution, but I do know that when you include a climate where guns are the answer, the kids are going to pick up guns are the answer. And you're going to say, I'm going to keep them out of school. It's a lovely thought, but it's not
Hmm.
realistic. There
Right.
are too many doors. The school day starts at various times. If you want to get a weapon in, you can. And he did. But we're
Hmm.
talking about a big gun. This was not a little gun that he was able to get in there. We also
Hmm.
have to talk about the father's responsibility. I'm not sure that's going to be the solution. Punish the
Right.
if you've been around today's 14-year-olds, they are not like the 14-year-olds
Oh,
that you associated with.
exactly.
He was interrogated, investigated. Let's use the word investigate. He was
Hmm.
investigated last year because he made threats against the teacher. But and he was just put on a watch list. But here we have a kid who had another problem. And please don't tell me he had mental illness. All of us have some form of
I know you're
something
right,
that's
Pastor.
not right. You know, that excuse is really wearing thin. So let's
Yes,
just be
lame.
truthful.
Hmm.
Yeah, let's just be truthful. You have a gun culture. You have kids who can get access to guns. You have kids who don't talk too much about what's going on, as you said, Pastor Shirley. They
Hmm.
just go on and take action because they see adults going on and taking action.
Hmm.
So school's not a safe place anymore. I am just thankful that there weren't more killed. And I'm sorry that he did not get whatever he needed. The shooter didn't get whatever he needed prior to this.
Hmm. Right. Thank you
And
so much, Pastor
did
Colleen.
did he die also?
No, he was in court this morning. He is going to be held into held in detention until December. Um, you know,
How old
the
was this young man?
14.
And they're not going to try him as an adult.
They are going to try him as an adult.
Okay.
He killed 4 people and injured 9 others.
Mm.
That's so sad.
And we are talking the second day of school.
Hmm. And what?
Wow.
And they. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to go to the third?
Pastor Claudine, did you have comments on the Georgia shooting?
You, what did you say, Dr. May?
She said,
Did you have comments on the Georgia shooting?
No, it's just hurtful because I think that we are not considering the children who are in these situations and have to be locked down. It's very
Mhm.
traumatic, and not get to call their parents on the phone And then there's situations I can imagine only that children, when they get out of the cars in the morning time, probably have anxiety attacks that they're not sharing. To get out of that car and walk toward their school and don't know if you'll be able to walk back. And that parent watching their child go in that door and don't know if they're going to get to come back out that door.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to uh, we have a breed of children who are fearful, who are angry, who are full of anxiety because they don't understand that everywhere they turn, there's somebody being murdered or killed. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
in their school, and they've always thought school was a safe place. And I
Mm-hmm.
had a teacher call me this morning. I mean, text me this morning, asked me to pray for her school and pray for the children at her school. They uh, can be just horrible,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's a dangerous school. It's always been a dangerous school. We label people, and then they perform at what we put them in.
Exactly.
Yes. We should be
Exactly.
careful with those labelings. We should stop
Mhm.
doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And yes, and then I want to go back to this, talk about the mental illness. Okay, it's a mental illness is when it's not any one of our persuasion, of our
Mhm.
ethnic persuasion. You know, I have to yet hear them talk about one of our people having, if they've done something, having uh, some mental
Yes.
problems. But it's
Mhm.
always the other ethnic groups that have the mental problems. And when it comes to us, they want to do the max. We're all guilty, guilty, guilty. Already on our way to do they still do the electric chair and the gas
No.
chamber
Yeah.
when it comes to us? You know, so
Mhm.
it's so much stuff going on. I just want to say say that part. Are we going on to the other?
Yes.
Okay, there was a party uh, in a short-term rental in the west side of Dallas, on the west side, that attracted approximately 200 we call them revelers.
Marvelous.
Should the city council of Dallas make real consequences of the homeowners? Now,
Yes, I believe
I
yes.
okay, I see that. Go ahead, Pastor Claudine. Go ahead.
You can't watch your children 24/7, but you can. I'm not talking
Okay.
about if they kill somebody. That's a whole nother scenario. But for the
Mm-hmm.
damage that they've done, I'll give you for an example. When I moved here, and maybe I've been living here almost 30 years, maybe 8, maybe 9 years ago, maybe so. Uh, a group of young people, their parents were gone, and they put their
Mm-hmm.
party on Facebook. 800
Oh,
kids showed up in my neighborhood.
oh my goodness.
The police officers walked the streets for a whole nother day picking up shells out of people's yards and taking pictures of shells in people's windows. They were on that street, but bullets fly and they don't have names on them. And everybody
Mm,
was upset that anybody would be that naive to put your party on Facebook when there are multi-million billions of people watching Facebook
mm,
all over the world.
mm,
And to invite people to a party in a neighborhood um, where there's quietness, where there is none of that, and it's mostly elderly people who've been living here for 40 and 50 years. I mean, you had to lay down on the floor. That just it was like machine guns going off.
oh. And that's the kind of chaos they say they had over there in West
Yes.
Dallas. And we saw
Hmm.
some of the clips
Hmm.
on there now. And being a homeowner and then those people operating those, I don't think they were on the premises, right? The owner,
They
I
were
don't
what?
think they were at that house that time,
Oh
right?
no. No.
Uh-huh. And then the contract, hopefully they had a written contract where the person that rented the house would be liable for anything that goes on. And so I see what you're saying about the homeowner. There has to be some responsibility, but those people had no idea
Mm-mm,
that I'm
none.
pretty sure that that was going to happen. And so I look at it like we're all homeowners. From a homeowner's perspective, we have to have some ability, but responsibility, right? But not have to bear all
Mm-hmm.
of it ourselves. So those rental agreements should be airtight, and they're gonna have to rethink that. And I know you said should the city council hold the homeowner responsible. Well, it depends on the contract.
Yeah, it's true
It
too. Mm-hmm.
depends on the contract. And so then I would go from there. But I know that they would not have rented that place if they had known that was going to happen. I just could not, I won't believe it. Because you never know what's going to happen. Because we even, like, things happen in people's homes. We know that now. And they have no,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't even know that was going to happen. So I look at that, being homeowner, because if it had been me, Lord God, that rented out my place like that and that happened, my Lord, I would be thinking that I shouldn't be held totally responsible for this. But then it's my responsibility to have a contract
Right.
that
Mm-hmm.
what it releases me from any liabilities if
Right.
something goes, it holds the renter totally responsible and liable in that contract.
Now
So that,
there is a thing going around with these B&Bs.
uh-huh.
These people are renting those B&Bs and then allowing their children to have a graduation party in it, and they're
Hmm.
tearing up those houses and they're shooting. And so most of the people in B&Bs from being offered in their neighborhood
Hmm. And it should be like that. Yeah.
because
And
Because the
they'll rent them
people,
for them and go home.
yeah.
the city council of Dallas has been working on this for a number of years. And last year they actually banned, the short-term lease, within single-family neighborhoods.
Right.
And we're all talking about single-family neighborhoods here. And I almost have a mental picture of what you guys are talking about having to get on the floor, because you put it out there and everybody came. I guess that's what the definition of being a friend, quote unquote, somebody you don't even know. Yeah, I have that problem with the use of the term friend, period.
Hmm.
Uh, but there is the licensing, Pastor Shirley. The city of Dallas says you're supposed to have a license, make application and
Hmm.
just do a license, but they're moving so slowly on it. And I think that's part of the problem because they're still operating under Pastor Claudine. You know, somebody
Hmm.
rents it and then everybody comes. So we have, you've sort of passed part of the stuff and you haven't passed the other part. And if you're not licensed and registered with the city, then that becomes another issue that you have to
The city
then
of Dallas
deal
is
with.
so busy working on the riverfront, they can't solve anything else. Looks like.
Well, I think they're gonna have to do something because I felt my heart bled for the woman who said, "I live a house down, a house or two down, and the vibrations from the music, you know, was felt like an earthquake to her." That I don't have a problem with it, but it needs to be regulated better. Because every time a house comes
Yes.
out vacant, my whole thing is please don't make it. And there's some great houses, short term rentals, especially for vacation and stuff. But if we don't get it right and it becomes just a party
Hmm.
place, who wants to even rent it? They should look, the homeowners should look past, I got a lot of money for this time, but what about next time?
That's right.
And yeah, because when you look at, they're going to lose more than they gained
Yeah.
when it's all over.
Hmm. Because then they'll
They
wind up
say,
having to fix the neighbor's house and the neighbor's house and the neighbor's house. And by the
that's
time they
right.
get through, they're going to have to move.
And sell that house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
For real. Oh,
Or
that's
somebody's
good.
gonna get, somebody's gonna get really, you hear about it at the graduation parties. I didn't even know who that was that came to my party, but hear the gun shells out here on the sidewalk.
Hmm.
It's got to be regulated.
And then one thing that they can do is to make it mandatory that they have the enough. Well, hey, hire some police
Yes,
to be there. If you expect 50 people, hire the number that should fit that what ratio? Is that what
yes,
I'm saying?
that's right.
Uh-huh. So they have to do that, and if they had start having to hire these policemen or these security companies, that I think that should probably be one of the things that they should consider also.
That's a good
And
idea.
you know, also,
Hmm.
also since a lot of this stuff with police is getting jail time for killing people, if you will notice in the city of Dallas, you can call them and they may not show up for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
When they shot up our neighborhood, we called them at 6 in the morning. He showed up at 1:30,
Wow.
and so they are not uh, really cotton to even policing black neighborhoods. They say we don't
Hmm.
have to kill them; we let them kill themselves. That's what one officer said on the news one day.
And
And it's a shame, but he was almost telling the truth.
right,
Black on
right.
black crime is terrible. And so I think that, we must pay attention to the fact that we are supporting and paying their salary with our money, and they don't show up because they don't want to, because they are not, they are right now angry at the fact that when they kill black people, they are being held accountable. And so they
Hmm.
won't, they just, it's only when you see, like, I can leave here where I stay, and I can go north, and I'm going to see police officers around those $1 million homes. I'm going to see them riding up and down the street. I might even see a horse team uh, riding. When I first moved in this neighborhood, it wasn't nothing for them once a month to ride on horses through the neighborhood
Hmm.
and just check out the neighborhood and see what's going on.
Hmm.
And it's so we say we got officers, but we don't have officers in places. When this man ran me off the road a couple of years ago at 3 in the morning, I was going to take the electrician home. My house had almost caught on fire, and when we came out of my street, this man turned in my street, and he looked at me as if with eyes of death. And so my friend said, "Do you know him?" I said, "I don't know that man," but we could see in his truck. And so he unnerved me so much. I said, "Let me go back around here and make sure I've locked the door because my mother and China were in his sleep." When I went
Hmm.
back around and came out, this man saw me again and he turned and he started following me. Well, when I
Hmm.
got on the freeway, he followed me and he kept speeding up like he was going to run into the back of me or he was going to run on the side of me and shove me over. And so I got off the freeway. As I got off, he got off.
Oh
And I
my.
turned and went back up. He followed me everywhere I go. I went all around this neighborhood and probably 100. I went to Jim Miller, came back up on Buckner, went back down and went up to um, Town East Boulevard, turned around and came back down. He was on me bumper to bumper, and so I'm calling the 911 operator, and I'm getting back on the freeway, and I'm telling her that a man is trying to run me over, and he's on my bumper. He's trying to drive over the side of me and knock me over. And she asked me to give her the address. I said, "Lady, I'm on the freeway."
My
Wow.
goodness.
And I can tell you what streets I'm passing, but I can't tell you the address. And she said, "Well, get to a place where you can tell me the address." I thought, heaven help.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so then she said, "Well, I tell you what you do. Put your flashes," not her. I hung up on her and I called back. The other lady told me, she said, "Put your flashes on and your lights and let your flashes go and start blowing your horn. Everybody
Hmm.
on the freeway gonna see him trailing you and running up behind you trying to hit you, and they gonna
Hmm.
know you're in trouble and they all gonna start calling 911."
That's right. Yep.
That's
And
good.
it did help, but he was still so close. I went all the way to Oak Cliff, got off and got back on the freeway. He was right behind me. So then they called me back from 911 and she said, "Is there a QT near you?" I said, "Go to QT and there's a safe place in that store that's built." I think she said underground or somewhere. That when the police tell when they got somebody that needs to be covered and somebody's out to kill them, they take them
Hmm.
there and they put them in that vault uh,
What?
and leave them there until the police come. And so I went back up and I got the freeway and I went to try to get to QT. He drove in QT behind me and I just turned around and drove right in front of him, truck to truck. and just looked at him. And then he started going down in his seat. And I'm still telling again another 911 operator that this man is reaching down like he's reaching for a gun. And so my friend was saying, let me get out of this car and go see what he wants. I said, no. He said, well, do I need to send the police? She said, do I need to send the police after him? He sound hostile. I said,
Wow.
you know what? I'm saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, but if I was by you, I'd probably because you yeah, I don't know where your mind is, lady, but y'all need to watch what you're saying on this other end of this phone. You're not making sense. You're asking people to do stuff. It's impossible to do something when somebody's out, you think, to kill you or something like that. How am I going
Wow.
to tell you what the address is on a freeway when I've given
Wow.
you the numbers of the exits and all that stuff and the name of the street? And so I went back down, and so I just started praying, and I started doing my horn and lights again flashing, and he saw people pulling up behind him, people on their phones, so he just got off the freeway.
Wow. And in the process of time during all this, how long did that take you dealing with the 911 and all of that?
After day, I run into a Spanish lady who has a truck identical to mine with the same dents. She had her hair pulled back
Oh,
in a bun, just like me. And her friend was a man. He had long hair, and it was shaggy. And my friend has long hair that's shaggy. And I tried to pull her over,
wow.
and I was trying to tell her, and she was talking on the phone with one had the phone in one hand, a wheel on the other hand, with a coke in that hand on the wheel, and she was looking at her friend, not looking. So he thought it was me, almost ran him off the road, but it wasn't.
Wow. Oh
And
my
so the
God.
police, because he had his license number, he hid his truck one while at the church parking lot behind a bush, and then he hid it, took it somewhere and hid it for a long time. So one day, me and my daughters out front, and we saw him, and I said, "That's the man. I need to go around this corner and tell him, sir, it wasn't me, but I can give you the license number of who it was, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. We were coming
Wow.
from trying to fix the lights, and so it's dangerous out there. It's just
Yes, it
it's
is.
unreal. It's
Yes, it
unreal.
is. My Lord. Oh my goodness. And okay, I can say one thing about where I live so far, and I'm thanking God. I'm saying this, I'm thanking Him, and hoping it doesn't change. But I don't know, I don't think I've told either one of you. Maybe one night somebody was beating on my door. This was, I think it was after midnight, or a little before, and beating on my door. So I put him on television, on my ring. What is it, Alexa? And I could see him, and the man was beating on my door, and he was saying, "Miss," it wasn't my name because he didn't know me. It was another lady he was looking for, and he was beating on the door and said, "You said you were gonna let me in. You said you were gonna let me in," and he just kept beating on the door. And so I called the police. I was talking to my son at the time, or else I called him or something and told him about it. And then I kept him on the phone when I called the police. And then it didn't take the policeman, but it would take him less than 10 minutes to get there to the house. And I
Hmm.
told them while I was talking on the phone, I said, I said, it looks like he might be the way he's acting. He's hyped up and he's sweating. And so I think he might be, under the influence. I didn't say it like that, but I said it
Hmm.
as timidly as I could. I said, I don't want him hurt. I said, but he's beating on my door. And so the policeman came, and the man had gone out by the street, and he started shining a flashlight up to the house, the man that was beating on the door. And then the police did talk with him, and he came to my door and had me to open the door. And when I opened the door, the screen was unlocked. The man had beat on the door so till he unlocked my screen.
Oh
And then
wow.
the policeman evidently took him with him. And I didn't hear any more about it. But it took him less than 10 minutes. And so I thank God for that. But then I understand because somebody was just saying the other day of how long it took. They called the police and how long it took them to get there. And sometimes they say, I've heard people say, they say if it's not a life threatening situation, then we'll get there when the time permits because other cases have priority. Have you ever heard that?
Yes. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
have.
Yeah,
There
but
are
Uh-huh.
that
numbers
night that man was
that
running me. The lady sent the
You were
police. She
priority.
said she's gonna send a police to follow me home. He told me
Mhm.
I can't meet you over there at racetrack. It's too dangerous over there. I'll meet you at Exxon. So I met him at Exxon. When he came, he said, "You sure somebody was following you?" So I looked at his badge. I said, "Officer, whatever his name was." I said, "You know what? I tell you what. You go home, and I'm gonna go home, and me and Jesus will take care of me. You have a good day." And I rolled my window up and drove off.
Well, I declare.
I
yeah.
said,
Wow.
I'm not gonna even travail with you. If you're scared than me, go home.
Before you get us both in a oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So I just
Okay.
drove around my house 3 times, and then the third time I parked my truck. I said, "Lord, take the Lord along with you everywhere you go."
I know that's
And
right.
I just went on in the house, and I thought, and she called, "Did he follow you?" I said, "No, officers." Well, I had his whole name and his badge number. I remembered it by heart. I said, "No, he was scared than me. He went home. He went home."
Oh my goodness. Well, we have some things going on, don't we?
Yes.
Okay. Number five. Are we going to the next one?
Number four.
Number four. Okay, where should the line be drawn for political campaigning in Arlington National Cemetery? What?
Yeah. The presumptive nominee for the GOP party did go and videotape out there. Um, that you would think it would be a non-story, but it is still a story. That was last
Yeah.
week, I believe, and it's still a story. There are over 400,000 persons who are buried out there, and there is a federal law that forbids, electioneering campaigning. And according to the news reports, there was a scuffle to get in when the Arlington National Cemetery people said you can't come in and do this. And we're hearing from the presumptive nominee that the Gold Star family has asked me no, you
What?
just don't do that. You know,
Did
I
he get in there anyway?
he- well,
Oh,
he
he
posted it.
almost fell over the unknown soldier.
Pastor Claudia, you know what I'm saying, and I
Yeah.
was just thinking about that. I've been there. It's a very solemn place. I went there on a Sunday afternoon. Just my husband and I. I'm the big, little kid when Joe Louis was fighting, but Joe Louis is buried there. I took the time and we actually walked to his grave, you know. But to go and make it a campaign rally situation, these were for the folks that were killed when they were evacuating Afghanistan. So he's making that, trying to make it a Biden Harris issue. But let's go back and remember, it was his timetable they were trying to keep. He is the one who said we will have our troops out of there by. You know, we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
keep that. But
Mm-hmm.
And
I,
they
I,
went.
I wouldn't go to the one in Dallas and film. There are just some things you don't do.
Right.
You should do, especially when it's illegal and been illegal since 1864.
Mm-hmm.
So my question was, what do we say? How do we stop that kind of foolishness? Because I don't remember anybody else doing that. He said, well, his staff said that John McCain did it once, but I don't, remember that. But even if he did, it shouldn't have been done. You don't repeat things that are wrong.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. You don't repeat things. Wow. Oh, now I remember you mentioning, I think you mentioned that to me,
Yeah,
didn't you?
last week. Look here,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
still on
Now,
that soapbox. So
but you know what?
don't do it.
I'm thinking Arlington here. I know about the Arlington National Cemetery, but
National
I'm
DC.
thinking, yes, I'm thinking ours, because I'm
No.
thinking, well, your husband's there, my husband's there,
Yeah.
hey. But anyway, yeah, I'm on the right track now. Yeah. It should be for, well, like you said, it's already forbidden, but if you look at the source, at the person, anything that's
Look at the source.
illegal, he's gonna do it. and then they're gonna let me
And you know what
go.
amazes me is that these white people can't see this man's agenda in America that they know and they claim they love. For him to go out there and make a mockery and then fall
Hmm.
over that other boy's grave trying to put the flowers down after he put them the wrong way, and then to go to the unknown soldiers, then to pose for pictures and all that stuff. He is not
with his
for
thumb
America.
up, with his thumb up. That's the
With his
part.
thumbs up, like he had a football game or something. And then to say that he's going to sue America for $100 million because those judges have given him immunity for everything they said he did. You don't have this country at heart. You want to be rich again.
My Lord, it's pathetic. It's pathetic, but that's him. That's him. That is him. Okay. Oh, are we going to go? Because I'm ready to get to number five.
Yes, we're
Number
good.
six. I mean, if you had the power to rework with participation in possible professional sports, what would you advocate in the way of exposure and training? If you had the power to work youth participation in possible professional sports, what would you advocate in the way of exposure and training? I'll let you ladies handle that.
Okay. If I had the power, right now they give us there are two predominant sports. Well, yeah, basically two: football and basketball.
Mhm.
But if you just watch the Olympics, or if you are currently watching the Paralympics right now, you know there are so many other sport activities for those kids who are in sport, and they require different types of skills for kids to develop.
Mhm.
We have rugby, we have soccer, we have cricket here in the city. We now have the professional female soccer team that's going to be playing out of Fair Park.
Mhm.
Well, here's my little thing. Are they going to put a little camp there so that the little black and brown girls in Fair Park area will be, have some knowledge of how to play soccer? You know, you got to remember if you're going to bring in the immigrants, you're going to bring in the sports. We don't play cricket, but those coming in from India and Pakistan, they do play cricket. We don't necessarily play lacrosse, you know, but if don't close it just down to two: football and basketball. Arlington, Texas, Pastor Shirley hosted the last, All Star situation, and the
Mhm.
first day was HBCU uh, baseball.
Mhm.
Do you know there are not that many kids, black kids, who play baseball anymore? Can you think of
Hmm.
five? Can you think of three? Can you think of two that
Children.
play baseball? Children who are in, your kids are not going to get interested in playing baseball if they're not exposed to baseball.
Well, I
Now,
think I have three great nephews.
I'm
Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about in
yes,
college?
yeah, no,
Okay.
you have to start them little. It's not really
Mhm.
wait until they get the
Mhm.
courage to try out for the college team.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
we've lost that kind of thing. Um, we do have Cedar Crest that has a junior league golf situation,
Mhm.
but more and more of the kids who are of color, and I love to say the kids of color, so that they will be exposed to it and they can go into it professionally.
Mhm.
Tonight we have a black guy and a white guy um, playing the U.S. Open for the
Okay.
first time in 20 years. If I go into any elementary school and say, "Who was Arthur Ashe?" What are they going to say? They're not, it's not being taught anymore. It's even against the law in Florida to teach that kind of stuff. But if, you know, we have to expose them to it so that they can do it. I didn't see my first lacrosse tournament. Well, actually, I saw one when I was younger in New Mexico, but
Mhm.
I didn't sit through one until I was in college, and I had to
Mhm.
teach myself the rules because I wasn't exposed to it. But that shouldn't be the way. Rugby
Mhm.
is an international. I wouldn't play it myself, but I
Mhm.
don't see why young kids should not be exposed to it.
Mhm.
And we can't wait for the city to fund the parks as parents and grandparents and aunties. we're the ones that's gonna have to make the move. Hey,
Hmm.
what you doing this Saturday? Let's go over and watch them play soccer.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm on
Well,
the
I
side.
have some nieces and nieces in soccer too, and track and all that. Great, what is it? Great nieces.
Yeah.
So okay, so Pastor Claudine, you have anything to say about that?
Um, yeah, there. When you open the world up, you have to open everybody up to everything because we are supposed to be a country that's for all people.
Hmm.
And so if you and that's happened. Can't think of the this country. We're so caught up with Mexico. There's another foreign country that President Biden has let in, and they have my people live in Denver, and they have taken over almost city of Denver. They've taken over two full
Argentina,
apartment complexes, and they won't allow anybody else to live in it but
I
their
saw
kind.
that.
And they're robbing and
Argentina, isn't
killing.
it?
Yeah, I saw that
Hmm.
Isn't that the
yesterday.
Argentina?
I don't know. I
I'm not.
can't remember
I
the.
can't remember.
I was thinking
Yeah, it
that.
don't sound like Argentina. It sounds like something with an S. And I don't think it was El Salvador. I think it's another country. And they're killing people and doing all kind of
Oh,
things.
you
And
Oh,
maybe
I
so
saw
they have their
that.
Venezuela.
own. Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that.
I did read it. I did see it. Yeah,
Hmm. Okay, so shall we go to six? I've been so anxious to get to
yeah.
number six. Okay, this. What is your reaction uh, to the statement made by Elon Musk that the Democratic government should be replaced with a government of high status males? Can I please?
Yes, please, please, please.
We have how many? 3 minutes.
Yes, we have 3 minutes. I'm looking at
Okay,
the
I'm
clock.
gonna try to do it quick, but I just want to say this. This morning, when I got to this question, 5 something this morning, and I looked at it, and you know what came to my mind?
What?
Look up the characteristics of a muskrat. And
Oh, wow.
I looked up, I'm not calling it about a muskrat, but the characteristics of a muskrat, they're adaptable, and what they are is really a field mouse that has adapted to certain environments, and they like to be around water. They've adapted. They have what is it? Evolved
Yes.
very, very adaptable creatures, and so they're hard to get rid of. And then they have two colors. They have a dark brown. They have waterproof fur on the back. Then they have a grayish brown on their stomach. They can chew underwater with their mouth closed, but they have teeth that protrude out where they can chew food underwater without taking water in. They're not a beaver. They're not an otter, but they say they are an evolved field mouse. But there's one way, the only way you can get rid of, totally get rid of a muskrat is to drain the swamps.
Oh,
And so,
I know where she's going.
drain the swamps and the marsh because they're very adaptable. They're from the northern region and now they have moved to so many places. They can live underwater for at least 15 minutes. They can adapt to almost any environment, but for one sure way of getting a muskrat out of your hair, out of your property, is to drain the marshes and the swamps. So, anyway, that's myself.
Are we being analogous here with Elon Musk?
Drain the swamps.
Drain the swamp. Okay.
Yeah,
We
go
have
ahead. We can go over 2 more minutes
oh
if you
no,
need.
no, no. Pastor Claudine, are you wanting to drain the swamp also? I think did we lose Pastor?
She's still here, Pastor
Did,
Claudine.
That's funny there.
yeah. It
But
really is.
these people saying all this old stuff and doing all this stuff, and they're getting talking here and there and all of that. Hey, and we've been talking about draining the swamps politically for years.
Yes.
So if you want to be
Mm-mm-mm.
sure and get rid of them, we have to drain the swamps. But then the people are so complacent that they don't want to take the time to drain the swamps. And that's a sure way of getting rid of the muskrats and all of the other critters that follow along with it.
But we
That's crazy. God help
but
us. God help us. Help
I'm
us.
not calling anybody a muskrat, but that's just the characteristics of a
I
muskrat.
I understand.
People, if
Okay, there
Muskrats.
they go talking that third language again. So they gonna
There you
drain us in the
go.
swamp, huh?
they,
Well, he thinks that Musk thinks that we need to replace the democracy,
right,
and yeah, we need to
Hmm.
replace it, and we need to put in there only
men.
the high state
Hmm.
male, the
Hmm.
alpha male. And he goes
Hmm.
on to say, someone else, 4chan, somebody on the internet said, but he goes on to say that you have to have someone with a high testosterone, and
Hmm.
that women and low testosterone men are not the right ones that should be doing this. So are we getting back to an elitist situation? That's how we started. And
Hmm.
people forget history. The persons who settled America were not the people that they think run it now. Those
Exactly.
persons were taken out of Old Bailey. They were prisoners. They were waiting to go into indentured servitude or to be hanged. And
Hmm.
but
Wow.
want to go back to a situation where elitists. But on yesterday's news conference, he's an ally of the presumptive nominee, and he's offered him a position, almost a cabinet type position of the government of efficiency. So there are
Hmm.
certain departments he wants to get rid of.
Hmm. And
Wow.
muskrats, they go out in a certain season and they spread their musk. They have two musk glands. They call them anal glands. And you know where they spread that musk? Around the toilets and around cabinets.
Oh, Father, help
Oh,
us here.
yes, Lord. I think we've gone there now.
That thing, come,
We've
I think we
definitely
gone too far.
gone
We
there.
better come on back.
So all of this stuff, all that stuff is wrong. They're wrong, but they don't think they're wrong for spreading
No,
all of that stuff. And so it's just a situation where we're going to have to get out and vote,
amen.
and we're going to have to get some overwhelming people who never voted before. Are going to have to get out and
Hmm.
and vote because we've got to overwhelm the polls in order to give a message to the electoral
That's
college.
right.
Amen.
Well,
We
that's
got
right.
to fix it where they cannot mingle and mess with the votes and try to put it the way that it's not supposed to go. Okay.
Hmm.
But anyway, okay, I'm done now. So anyway,
Uh,
we want to
this
drain the swamps. All right. So any last words, please, for today?
I've
well,
enjoyed the conversation, and I pray that those listening have been enlightened and that we have so much tragedy and so much news that's bad, but we kept the laughter and then the seriousness of the matter, and that they will think on those things.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Matt.
I pray that all will hear and understand there's no viciousness in what we're saying. We are saying, however, that God has granted us wisdom to take a look at the culture that we're in now that will allow people to make statements that are must write like, and that we will learn that we're going to have to work more together. We are more
Hmm.
alike than we are different. We really
Mm-hmm.
are more alike. And thank
Mm-hmm.
you so much for being with us today,
And
Pastor Shirley.
all right, thank you everyone for being here. This is the Mother's Board Inc., and I stand by everything that I've said today. And this week we want to give our opinions, and we want to give things and everything we keep in context. And if you would look at some of the things and you think about things, see, sometimes we don't think. Uh, uh, we don't do the depth of thinking that we should. But then also, while we're thinking, we should make sure that we're being fair and honest with ourselves first, and then with everyone else. And so I've enjoyed it so much. Thank you, Dr. Mack. Thank you, Pastor Claudine. We've
Well,
enjoyed the Mother's Board. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. And let's just do the right thing and take advantage of your privileges, and that you have privileges. You can vote and all of that. So let's just do that. Let's just do that. We're not trying to tell you which way to vote, but we're just asking you to exercise your rights as a citizen of the United States of America. Thank you so much for joining the Mothers Board. We love you so much. Enjoy the remainder of your day. All right, let me get over here, and my mouse is not wanting to do what it needs to do. There we go.